Welcome to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast with Darren Mitchell. If you're a sales leader looking to take your leadership to a whole new level, then this is the podcast for you. We'll be exploring tips, techniques, and strategies to help you take your leadership to the exceptional level and allow you to enjoy more money, more meaning, and better sales results. Welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Leader Podcast, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome a man coming in from, very early in the morning as it sits right now in Italy, Mr. Will Steele, high-performance coach at Will Steele Enterprises, ex-RAF pilot, all-round good guy, but also the author of Free to Lead. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Darren.
We were just talking before we press record how early it is over there. It's about 6:30 a.m. as we're recording this, about 4:45 p.m. in Melbourne, and quite cold in Italy right now.
Yes, cold and clammy. This where I'm at is in Bologna, and it's fairly the north of Italy. So I'm an ex-pilot, so I understand the weather. The cold air comes off the Alps and sinks down into, it's kind of a flat valley, so It turns into fog. So there's a lot of fog, thick, and that's cold. It's cold and wet and clammy. So it's not just cold; it's cold and kind of sticks to you and gets in your bones.
Lovely. Well, I was just saying also, we're expecting some really, really hot weather the next week or so. So I'd probably I prefer the cold actually than the heat. So thankfully, where I live in Melbourne, it's actually colder more often than it's warm. So that's probably a good thing. So we're looking forward to this conversation. You've got a fairly extensive background. You said you've been in sales in terms of doing registrations and programs for organizations. You're an executive coach now, and we'll talk about some of the things you do now. But I always like to jump back into my guest's history and get a little bit of a background in terms of what you did, but specifically what led you down the pathway to doing what you do now. Because you also said, you know what, Dan, if I knew what I knew now, back when I was a pilot, it would have been a completely different experience.
Definitely. Yeah. Because you asked me that question, so you asked me about ontology and what is it, and it's the study of being. But as a human being, where we've got lots of different facets, right? There's very simply there's all the what's going on in your body, like your feelings and emotions and all of that stuff. So there's the emotional side, and then there's all the thinking and all the thinking side. But you also speak and interact with the world, So there's different parts of you. There's the internal world and there's the external world. And we actually live in the internal world, So we're actually talking to ourselves, thinking it's us talking, when it's just automatic thoughts going through your head. People talk about the monkey mind and all of this stuff, but it still feels like you, like it really is me, isn't it? Isn't it me talking? I mean, it's me talking, isn't it? Well, that's the trick of the brain. It tricks you into that. So you really do think it's you. And there was a moment as a pilot, I was absolutely gung-ho going for single seat Harrier pilot, which is, creme de la creme, the best of the best, which all fit my identity, by the way. But I remember sitting in the cockpit, and I'm 2 trips off going on to Harriers, right? I'm 2 trips away. I'm in what they call a tactical weapons training. I'm sitting in this Hawk Mark 1A, it's got guns and bombs and all that stuff ready to go off on this mission. And I'm thinking, having these thoughts, thinking I'm thinking these thoughts, but they're automatic. But I didn't know at the time because I didn't have, the training, the distinctions that I have now. Yeah. I'm like having these thoughts, thinking I'm saying it, which was, they think I'm really good. But they don't know. I'm just kind of hanging in here. I'm like on my fingernails. I'm like just keeping up, And the fear was they're going to find out later, I'll get onto the Harriers and then they'll really find out I'm not actually that good. Guess what happened on that trip? On that trip, we fly up to Scotland. Brilliant. I even pulled up. My instructor was in a different airplane. He was in the lead aircraft, and he was heading onto this target, and he's got the wrong target. I can see there's two headlands, and he's going on to one on the right, but the target's on the left, and he's going in. I was like, no, wait, come left, come left. So I'm now instructing the instructor, right, to not screw up big time. And he pulled over. So it was awesome, like really doing great. Then we get to the place, and there's this passenger who's an instructor at the basic flying training. I said, can you just draw the map? Because we had little time, very little time. So he drew the map, and okay, great, looked at it, okay, good. And off we go, which is the trip back. And it's all, last minute on purpose to try and put you under more and more pressure, right? So, really testing it. So we get off, we're running into the target, and then I take out the Gordon survey map, which is, more detailed. So I took that from under my leg, look at that, and there's an arrow on the left of me. And on the right. And I look over, my wingman's on the left. I thought, oh, shit, we're running into the target here. And he's got, so I'm going to have to fucking switch, running into the target, which you don't do, right? Yeah. But it's like, and actually, he was on the right side. It's just the guy had put the arrow on the other side because the guy wasn't familiar with what we were doing. He was going from the training, in the training world, that arrow means start and stop your stopwatch. But we weren't doing that because we're doing real time, the real actual wristwatch time. What actually? So the arrow for us was where you want your wingman. But I hadn't checked the map close enough, so we're now running in, and that was it. I was out. End of my fast jet flying. Yeah, it's very, very cutthroat. It's like that was it. So well, you can't start doing shit like that, out.
One thing.
Yeah. But the point is, that was self-sabotage. Now, that's another whole section in my book. We sabotage our success. We're right there, about to get there, and we sabotage, and it looks all innocent, right? But if you look back, there was that moment in the cockpit where I'm listening to that voice in my head going, yeah, I know, you're going to get there, and they're going to really... So unbeknownst to me, I'm self-sabotaging myself by letting that other guy do the maps and not checking and which is like, you don't have time to have any doubts. You don't have time to have any thing. And you know that. And I've known that the whole way through. But all of a sudden, all innocent, right? But that's that self-sabotage. And people do that in their careers. They do it in relationships. They do, it seems to be you just get there and you're just about to, and why did I do that? That's insane. Yeah. It's not an accident. Right?
But it's probably deep seated because it's almost like imposter syndrome, isn't it? That I'll get found out, and I don't want it to happen consciously, but unconsciously I'm putting in place some behaviors that are linked to what I deeply believe is true about myself, and therefore that's almost like it's almost like a thermostat, for want of a better term, isn't it? That it comes back to
very good, yeah,
that equilibrium.
Yeah. Well, see, very good what you're saying. See, now you go deeper, right? You go deeper or further back in time in your life, and you'll get to a moment where, and I talk about limiting beliefs, and people they don't have limiting. I don't have limiting beliefs. I'm awesome, anything's possible, except when you really get down to it, there's moments like I just talked about where you screw it up and it doesn't seem to make sense. But if you go back earlier in life, there's a moment in time where you don't actually think you're that good, or something happens and you don't feel like you're enough, or something happens and, they think this, but I know this, and so these doubts set in. So, yeah, undoubtedly, that's from an earlier time in life when you don't actually think you're that good, and and things, you hear things and see things that kind of reinforce that subconsciously, and it all goes in. It's all there in the background. There's 5% of consciousness that we're aware of, and there's 95% that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
So mostly what's running the show is all the stuff in the background, which you don't normally have access to. So if you're there and, you don't quite meet your objectives, you don't succeed to the extent that you want to, or when you do succeed, it's not really it. It doesn't really feel like it's enough. You don't feel like you've really, really accomplished what you. It's enough fulfillment. Well, it
Mm.
won't be if what you're doing is trying to fix yourself or prove to yourself that you are good. You know, which is all made up. It's all like a fabrication on top of some belief or something that happened. You know, a belief. If we look at what is a belief, well, if you look about at the mechanism, you have a thought, something happens, and you have a thought, and you decide in that moment, yeah, that's right, that's true.
Yeah.
So now you believe it. So a belief is a thought you had that you decided was true. So for you now, that's the truth. That's just the way it
Mm.
is. That's the way I am. That's the way
Yep.
life is. So I need to do this because
Mm.
of that. So now you're 2 steps away from the real you, and now you live your life.
And often that is almost like a benchmark by which you now start to compare other things that start to happen in your life that might be either giving you evidence to support a different belief, or you're looking for evidence to
Yes.
support the belief you've already formed based on a thought you had in a situation that happened.
Yeah. 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 It's kind of nasty because also, if you decide, you know, let's say you decide, in my case, I decided I wasn't wanted, right? Something happened when I was 3 years old. My dad told the story to the whole family. He said, we couldn't afford a third baby. Then mum got pregnant. And then we had 2 boys already. So we were looking forward to a little girl, and you popped out. You should have been a little girl. Everyone's laughing. The whole family, grandmas, everyone. And I'm like devastated in this moment. It's like, whoa. Because what I heard, it's not what
Yeah.
my dad said. My dad did not say this. What I heard was, I'm not wanted. I
Yeah.
wasn't wanted in the first place. And what they really wanted was a girl. And I just had this thought right there, I'm the best. So my life became about proving I'm the best.
Yeah.
But it's built on a foundation of I'm not, like, I'm
Yeah.
not wanted. And that's it was unclear that that's what that was about, but there's a feeling to it. You
Mm.
don't quite feel fully whole and complete.
Yeah.
So there I am in the cockpit, and I'm thinking, having these thoughts. They think I'm good, but am I really that good? Because you don't really feel it. So it can start with something so small and innocent as that, but it builds because you find more evidence over time. So it just really is the way that it is. And you can't tell other people because you're not even aware of it really yourself.
Mm. Well, you can't language it.
Very good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, so with that, because you missed out on moving to the Harriet. So I'd love to explore what happened next and what led you to do what you do today. But just going back
Yeah.
to what you said there with, as a 3-year-old, if your father's saying that, and it wasn't a direct words, but if you interpreted and formed a belief that you wanted to be the best, how do you reconcile that with being in the cockpit, knowing that you wanted to be the best, had to prove that you're the best, but unconsciously was almost self-sabotaging, so you didn't get the opportunity to move into the Harriet.
Yeah, because I want to be the best, but really, really, you don't think you are because I knew I was, I knew like it's the truth. I wasn't actually wanted, right? That's like
Mm.
the truth for me. But it isn't what my dad said. That's just you see, it's my interpretation that
Yeah.
becomes the truth. This is all collapsed together. It's all
Mm.
wrapped up together. Like my dad, he told me I wasn't wanted. He didn't say that. And I'm like, yeah, man. Like when it hit me, when I got to that for myself, which was in a program I did early on, this is what hooked me into the work because it altered my life. It completely shattered. It was like amazing. It's like,
Mm.
whoa, wait. He said we couldn't afford a third baby. That doesn't mean they didn't want me, like me. I mean, they hadn't met me yet. It's not personal.
Mm.
They just didn't want to. They weren't planning a baby. That's it. I mean, how many
Yep.
babies are planned? How many babies are unplanned? Let's say a lot.
Yep.
you know, just happen to have the baby when they have the baby. You
Yep.
know, but the little baby hears these stories and and then makes up stuff.
Mm.
Like them as a human being are not wanted. Them as a human being are somehow not really the real deal. So, yeah, yeah,
And
it's foundational, you know.
it is, and it's interesting that it happens in the years where we are at our most, I guess, impressionable, where everything goes in, and we don't really have the filters because we haven't learned the adult filtering mechanisms to distinguish right, wrong, and all that sort of stuff. It's like a sponge.
Yeah.
So the imprint phase, it almost we believe absolutely everything that we're fed, and
What
it,
we hear about what we're fed,
yeah,
what our brain says about what we're,
yeah,
and 3-year-old brain isn't fully developed, and a small child, it's like everything's to do with you. The whole
mm,
world revolves around you. Have you eaten? Have you been to the bathroom? What do you want for Christmas? Blah 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 blah. Everything's about me, you know. So it's like this whole life is set up around me,
yeah.
as a kid. So everything's got something to do with me, you know.
Mm. So talk to me about then the experience you were jetting for the Harriet position. That
Yeah,
didn't happen.
yeah.
What did you make that mean?
My
Was that
life was over.
okay?
For me, it was like there's nothing else I want to do.
Yeah,
There's nothing else I really want. There's nothing else that excites me. There's no career. There's no nothing, nothing. There's nothing else. I was so like, that's what I want. Like I created that as the holy grail. That was
yeah,
it. So if I became a Harrier pilot, then I'd made it. That was it. That was totally, nobody could argue with I'm the best.
yeah,
I am absolutely the best if I'm a Harrier pilot. White gloves, get in the Harrier, single seat, do the whole business myself, come back, mission accomplished. You are ace of the base.
yeah.
No one can argue with that, right? And I didn't get that. And they sent me multi-engines. So I went multi-engines, um, and then ended up on C-130 Hercules, which is an amazing airplane and a lot of fun to fly low level, landing fields, drop parachutes out the back and equipment out the back, go all over the world to interest him. I could have had a really great time. And it's an
Yeah.
instant party wherever you land. There's 6 guys with a barrel of beer in the back, and we just land and we, have a great, amazing. Except I was sulking because
Yeah, okay.
it wasn't a Harrier. I was a pain in the ass to everybody because I was so miserable, so like gutted. My life was over. This isn't what I wanted. I don't know what I want, but it's not this. So I then left the Air Force and went into be an airline pilot. I thought, at least with an airline pilot, I'm going to get paid loads of money. There's loads of air hostesses. This is going to be great. And it was terrible. It was like being a bus driver. I felt like a bus driver. It was worse because at least a bus driver would leave on time. You're an airline pilot, and there's 2 passengers still somewhere, duty free or something, and you can't, it's going to take half an hour to unload their bags. So you just wait. So we're sitting around waiting for passengers. All I want to do is get home. The whole game as an airline pilot for us was to get home earlier than the schedule, right?
Okay.
Get
Yeah.
back quicker. And that was it. And it's just like, it's not like flying a fast jet. You can turn it upside down and fly around at low level, and it's, you got your mate and you're on, flying in formation. No, you're flying and you've got to go where the air traffic say to go. It's just like, I did it for just 2 years.
Okay.
But what happened? That's where I changed careers. I think that's where you were going, right? So
Mm.
what had me go to do what I'm doing?
Yeah.
So, I came out of the Air Force. I was a bit lost. It's like, what do I want to do? There's nothing I really want to do. Yeah, I'm going to be an airline pilot, but it's like, it's not exciting. There's nothing to look forward to apart from, you know, getting onto the longer haul flights where you get more time off and then do whatever you do with your time off, right?
Mm.
That was it. It wasn't. So anyway, I did this program. A friend of mine did this course, and it was a landmark forum. And I did this program, and that's where I had that insight where I got when I was 3, wow. And it altered everything. It altered my
Mm.
whole life. Everything made sense in that moment. It's like a domino effect. You get back to that original thing that happened, and like all of a sudden your whole life makes sense.
Mm.
Harriers was for me representing, I would be it. That would be it. Everything would be fixed because I'm now it. I'm now the best, right? And it put everything into perspective. And then I watched the guy leading the pro. I did some more programs, and I watched the guy leading it and went, "Wow, the difference you get to make with people. You know, people are so wrapped up in all sorts of stuff. You
Yeah.
know, I started working for them, and I started leading pro. I just changed career. I used that work to get into British Airways to get the top job in the airline industry. So they offered me 747-400s, Boeing 747-400s from Heathrow, which that's the job everybody wants. They want that slot because that slot means by the time you're a captain and by the time you're senior, you fly twice a month. You go to Tokyo and back twice a month, earn double money for all your expenses and all that they give you, and that's all you have to do. So most of your time is time off. So that's like
Yeah.
the top job. And then they asked me if I wanted to come and work from it. This other company, right, leading these programs uh, and I was like, oh, I just got offered the top job. I mean, that's not an easy choice because what it meant was I'd have to start at the bottom, start at the bottom, learn all the methodology and all the teaching and all the, well, selling as well. You've
Yeah.
got to enroll people into the program and register them into the program. And it was like, okay, I'm either going to keep being. I thought I'll go be an airline pilot do it for like 5 years and then go and do the other thing, right? Get some money stashed away because the other one wasn't paying very well at all. I like took a 75% pay cut to go and change
Wow.
careers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived on a mattress on my friend's floor for a year, right? So talk about starting over. I really did start over, but what really attracted me was that you made a difference with people.
Mm.
Like that moved me. Like you could have someone come up there. I mean, we're all screwed up if you like. I didn't have anything bad happen. Oh, my dad was just telling a funny story, but it was as impactful as if something terrible. I mean, I've led enough programs. What human beings do to each other, you know,
Shocking.
abuse,
Yeah.
all sorts of things that happen. But it's not so much what happened that you're left with
Mm.
that really runs your life. What runs your life is the decisions that you made and believed about
Mm.
you, about others in your life, about life itself. There's like those three kind of main views. It's all about
Mm.
you, all about others and you, and all about life and you.
Mm.
So I started to make a difference with people, started to interact with people. I led to start with just introductions and small programs. Then I started to lead the leadership program. And for 8 years, that's what I did. I never thought of it as sales. I thought of it as like getting people into this program because it's going to transform their life. I was just
Mm.
connected to that, not the money. And I didn't get paid commission ever. It was just like, how many people can we transform?
Yeah.
So it's really about making a difference with people. And that's what made me flip, have my life be about that. And that was. And then I went and led the main program myself for 15 years all over the world, all different languages, different cultures. I actually went to Australia one time. I did 3 programs in Australia. I did Sydney, then Perth, and then Adelaide.
Yeah.
So, and people are people.
Yeah.
First kind of day, people are all right. Here we are in Sydney. It's very different to Adelaide, which is very different to New York, which is very different to Albuquerque, which is very different to London, which is different. But when you get to human being underneath, we've got fears underneath, we've got these beliefs underneath, they've got the same mechanisms going on. So, once you start getting deeper down into being human, we're all the
Mm.
same. We're just all the same and trapped in
Yeah.
these beliefs.
And when you look at that, it's a great transition, a great journey you've been on, and I mean, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and at
Mm,
each stage in our career, there's lessons there that we're meant to learn. Doesn't mean we always learn them, but there's things and
Yeah.
opportunities to learn. If you look back on the transition, you didn't get to Harry. You went to the big ass planes, and you had drank the beer, and then you went to
Yeah.
or had the opportunity to work in the top role at British Airways. Um, if you ended up going into the landmark business and working there,
Yeah.
if there was a lesson that you took away from that whole process, that was, I guess, the ultimate lesson for you, what was that?
Um, it's retrospective, okay, but it's like really truly go for what is authentic to you, what
Mm.
moves you, what touches you, what you know. It's get almost spiritual, like what touches your soul, what really is authentically you.
Mm.
You know, I did a Tony Robbins course, right? And they got one thing out of it, but it was really valuable. I went back and looked at that experience because for me, that was like the biggest failure of my life. Like the worst thing that happened was I got chopped from fast jets. Of
Hmm.
everything that's ever happened, for me, that was the biggest, that's what came up as the biggest disappointment, right?
Yeah.
And then it is doing this exercise. He's okay, stand back from it. What's the other person's point of view? So I'm like, okay, well, the guy in the other airplane is thinking, what's he doing? This guy's brilliant. What the hell's going on? Why is he doing that? Okay, good. He said, now stand further back. What's God's view of this?
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, oh, what's God's view of this? Well, he's saying, look, you've had your fun. You know you can do it. You've seen you can do it all. And that's not your life. Your life's not killing people. That's not for you. And it was like, oh, okay. So God threw the spanner in the works. It's just a
Mm.
made up context, if you like. Um, but it was like, oh, okay. Right. Well, and everything just settled down then. It wasn't
Mm.
like, oh, I wish I'd gone fast jets. Like it still was for a long time. You know, it was like, oh, it's just not meant to be.
Yeah.
The fun stopped after that. After that, you go front line. After that, it would have been going and dropping bombs in Bosnia. After that, it would have been, serious shit.
Yeah.
Up until then, it was all just flying around and having a really great laugh. It was fun,
Mm.
It
Mm.
was really difficult, but really amazing fun. But it got serious after that, And so I've forgotten what your question was, but
What was the biggest
that was
lesson?
the
Yeah.
recontextualizing it. So if you look, the big lesson is to really get to authentically what you want. What do you
Mm.
actually want? What actually inspires you? And it's not something to not so much something to find, like you've got to stare at your navel for hours and do hypnotherapy or something to try and find out what's going on with you. Really, it's being able to get everything that's not you out of the way, which is, if, that's why I had to write my book in two parts. First part is to get all the stuff that's not you out of the way so you get to the authentic you. And
Mm.
then from there, create who you are and create what your life is about. So it's a creation that inspires you. So
Mm.
if you create a life for yourself and you create a future and you create from nothing what your life is about, it's about as authentic as you can get.
Yeah.
If you've got a blank canvas, you can create an authentic piece of art. If you've
Mm.
got a painting already, you go and change bits, it's not really yours, it's something you've changed. So when you can create your life from not trying to fix something or not trying to, make up for something, you just create it because that just inspires you. That's what your life can be about. Then you've got freedom, power, and it's not about when you get there and you produce this result, then you'll be okay. It's like the whole thing is fulfilling. The whole thing
Mm.
is you're engaged with what your life's about because you said so. That's what you
That's it.
created
That's it.
consciously. Whereas
That's it.
before it was unconscious.
Yeah. And it's interesting if I add something to that, um, there's nothing that is broken because a lot of people think
Yeah.
I'm broken or I'm not worthy or whatever the narrative is, whatever the language is, whatever the belief is that they've created. It's not that. how do you uncover what is really you? And the thing I wanted to talk to you about now is in the field that you're now working, because you mentioned before we press record, a lot of the work you do is with founders who perhaps don't necessarily have somebody who they can confide in to get the clarity, and that's where you come in and help them do that.
Yeah.
And I love this study of ontology. Um, that how do we do that? Because if you got the society we have today, you just have to look at any social platform, whether it be LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. You've got all these people that are saying, "Look at me, look at how successful I am," quote unquote, right?
Mm,
And the
mm.
question I'm always asking is that person real?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I've heard and I've spoken to lots and lots of people who share the stages around the world with some of the most famous public speakers who profess to being authentic, and they say to me, you know what? When I'm talking to them in the green room, they are completely the opposite of what they appear to be on stage.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
authentic, they're putting this facade on. So,
Yeah.
can you talk to me about the importance of your work, and particularly this study of ontology and the study of being and the nature of being? Because I think it's really critical, particularly in 2026, that we just need to focus on who we really are and how do we,
Mm.
and particularly as leaders, how do we really
Yes.
tap into who we are and who we need to be, not just what is it that we need to do.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Well, yeah, it's not something you can just do like that, right? You got to do some work, you know? Like if you think about who you've become in life is this we call it identity or this thing or this you, right? I'm this. I'm doing this box like because you end up in like a box and like a diamond more than a square
Mm,
box, right? Because
mm,
there's this aspect of you, that aspect of you, but it's all gotten put together as you've gone through life, right? Now, what happens when you start to see limiting beliefs? Oh, that's not true. That's not true. I'm not just limited to that. I'm not just and at some point it's all gone. There is no limitation.
mm,
There's all ways of being available to you. There's
mm.
all ways of acting available to you. Whereas if you are that, well, I'm good at this, but not good at that. Like it's the truth. Nobody's good at anything. Well, maybe I've got some bent towards something or other, but pretty much nobody's that good at anything when you first start out.
Yeah.
And the difference is how much you practice.
Mm,
There's been lots of studies on this. What separates a virtuoso violinist from a first violinist, from a tutor of violin, the 3 steps. They went through everything, their background, the DNA and everything. And actually, what separates the 3 levels is the top one's done 18,000 hours of practice. The middle one's done 15,000 hours of practice. And the one below that's done 12,000. And that's the only difference.
mm.
That's the same thing in all of them when you retract it all back. That was the commonality, how much you practice. So nobody's good at anything to start with, generally, right? Or not, certainly not masterful at anything until they've practiced. So, um, so you gotta you see, you can't sit down in one setting and get to your authentic you, right? Not
Mm.
really. You got to see it as it comes up. That's when I work with people. I work with them for 12 months. I say, I'm not going to work with you for a few sessions.
Yeah.
It'd be inauthentic for me. Yes, I could take your money and sort you out with this particular problem you're dealing with right now, but that's not really what I do. I'm
Yeah.
working with you to be where you're pointing at is like being able to be your true self in life.
Mm.
And that comes up as things come up. So you're dealing with this thing this week, and now this thing's upset you here, and now I want to move forward here, but something's holding me back. My original title for my book was "Go Back to Move Forward."
Hmm.
So if you're not able to move forward in something, some area, you know, no, what's that remind you of? Oh, I don't know. What's the earliest time you thought that? I don't know. And we have this inquiry and get back to, oh, this happened. And what did you decide? What did you think to yourself? Oh, I
Mm.
thought this. Oh, oh wow. Boom, 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 boom. And all of a sudden, this world opens up for people in that aspect. So that's like one facet of the diamond, right?
Yeah.
So there's different ones of those. But if you can get enough of them out of the way, you can then get to like, yeah, what do I want? Who am I? Who do I really, what inspires me about what I'm about to do? Why do I end
Mm.
up in life doing this? Of all the things I could be doing, I'm doing this. And I enjoy doing this. All right, great. So now you enjoy doing this. All right, great. So what's the fullest expression of that? 2-3 years ago, I got a client who's in the Middle East, and he's a doctor, and he's invented, and well, he didn't quite invent it. He got it from a few different sources, but balance is you can heal people, and he heals people with diabetes and all sorts of things. He's amazing. And I'm coaching him. I'm still coaching him. And he says, what we really need in the Middle East is a leadership program. He said, you led a leadership program. Can you create a leadership program? I said, yeah, sure. Let's do it. He says, particularly for women. In the Middle East, it's a
Mm.
very, I don't want to be too general, but it's kind of a male-dominated environment, certainly in the world of work,
Yeah.
mostly, right? So I said, yeah, let's do it. So we create this whole program. So I've been leading programs in the Middle East. And, I stopped myself. I said, well, I haven't created a vision for this. I haven't created a future for this. Now, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it because he asked me to do it. Okay, that's the first answer, right? So you got to start with what's actually there. Well, I'm doing it because he asked me to do it. Well, why else?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a good opportunity to meet more people. People get introduced to what I'm doing. Maybe I'll get some more clients out of it. Oh, great. Okay, what else? Well, actually, it's an opportunity for me to really make a difference. It's absolutely. I hadn't led a program for 5 years because of the pandemic. When the
Yeah.
pandemic came, no more live programs. So I was let go, right? So I started my own coaching business. So 5 years later, all of a sudden we've created this program and I'm leading it. And it's a room full of people. It's like wonderful. Oh, great. All these people want to learn. They want to find out how to have their life be great. This is amazing. I've forgotten how good this was, right? Why am I doing this? Because I love it. Yeah, but what is it about it? Well, I just love to make a difference. Yeah, that's my purpose in life, is to make a difference. So there's a purpose, and then there's, what your life's about, your vision, a vision, and they're not the
Yeah.
same, right? So you got to get clear about your purpose. Why do you do what you do? Okay, so now what's the fullest, to get to the vision, you got to go, what's the fullest expression of that? What if I did that to the max, making a difference? Well, if I had lots and lots and lots and lots of people do this program, they get to make a difference. They get to make a difference in other people's lives. Then we get to make a difference in society. And then, it could sort out all the major problems, like poor, people in poverty, or people being homeless, or people not having clean water or food, or wars. We don't need to have wars if everybody could actually get along, and, all of that
You
side
would have
of being
thought.
human. So to me, it was like, what I'm up to is transforming the leadership of the Middle East, not just the people right in front of me, but they are the leaders of the Middle East,
Yeah.
you know? So that gave me that was like, wow, that lit me up. Like that's what my life's about. Why? Because I said so. I'm created it. So back to your point, it's not that is something there, but you have the opportunity with this
Mm.
ontology work that we're talking about to create for yourself what your life is about that inspires you, the real you, not the you that is trying to fix you, the you that you think's
Mm.
broken. No, the real you. And we
Mm.
call that in Arabic, well, we call it fitra. Fitra doesn't translate directly into English. It's an Arabic word. In Islam, it means the true essence of God. That God breathed into Adam. That's fitra. But fitra is also like you put a seed in soil, it knows how to grow into a perfect plant. It doesn't need any outside information. That's fitra. And you can put the
Mm-hmm.
same seed in a different soil, in a different environment. It'll grow up perfectly, and it'll grow up in harmony with the environment that it finds itself in. So
Yeah.
that's fitra. So we call this fitra leadership, right? Because imagine being totally the real you in all situations. No matter what's happening, you're being your authentic self. You
Mm.
can't have more power than that. See, power is not force. Power is the freedom to really be
Mm.
yourself
Yeah.
and express yourself,
Mm.
the true self,
Yeah.
you know? So So that's for me what this work gives people access to. And I've gone and researched this and researched that. There's not just the work I did when I was with my former company. That's kind of like the background, but it's also, how to get that for people, how to, tailor it towards what they're doing in their life, how to not just have it be some grandiose sounding great thing. No, here I am running a company and sales are very important for the company. Yeah, okay. But any business built on just making money, that runs out of juice pretty quick. You build your
Does.
business up. Let's say you get just over 1 million. You think, well, this is great. But to get to 5 million, I have to work 5 times as hard. It seems that way, right? So why would you do it? You've got enough money, you end up talking yourself out of it, or you don't really have the drive for it. It's because if it's about the money, it's just not enough
Yeah.
for most people. And I can't say it for everybody. So if you can create what you're up to and get to like somehow it's making some sort of difference for others, because ultimately inside us, we like to contribute and make a difference to others, whether you realize it or not. When you actually experience doing that, you feel great, don't you? When your kids
100%.
actually do what you ask them to do,
Totally.
they take your advice. That's
Totally.
wonderful for us, So the long answer to your question.
I love that. So I'm curious also, Will, for people listening to this who were at the start of the year, we're in January. For some companies, it's the start of their financial year. For others, we're in the middle of their financial year. Some are to the back end of the quarter. Um, some practical things that people can do who have been listening to this to maybe tap into or try to identify that authentic self, to take on some of this ontological approach. What are some things that people can do? Because you mentioned before, it's not something you just sit down and say, well, who am I? Right? It might take a
Yeah.
process. But are
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
some
Well,
practical things that people can do to start that process, to really give themselves some things to hold on to, and I guess carve away some of the things that perhaps has been holding them back in the last sort of 3, 6, 12 months?
yeah. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity to plug my book, right? I mean, read the book. I actually did the audiobook as well. So my dad listened to the audiobook. I mean, I'm not joking. I spent 14 months writing this book. I didn't want to just write a book. I could write a book in a day and, you get onto Chat GPT and tell it what you want to write it, but it'll write it for you. But
Mm,
that's not the book I want. I didn't want a book that was just like a calling card, which a lot of coaches do.
yeah.
I've written a book, and 80% of the people buy books and don't read them.
Mm,
So you're okay. They're not going to find out that your book's actually crap. You know, no, this had to be a book for me that was like, Think and Grow Rich, or How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like a book you can read 5, 10 times. And every time you read it, you hear something new. You see something new for yourself. And, if I got someone in a program for 3 or 4 days, I can transform them completely from top to bottom, right? Then they'll transform. Um, how do I get that into a book? Oh man, I struggled with that and I tested things out. And mostly not every chapter, but most chapters have an exercise to do. So you do the exercise, and if you do the exercise, it will help you get to the bottom in that aspect, and
yeah.
then that aspect, and then that aspect. So it's an unashamed plug for the book. Why? Because I know it works. My dad was listening to the book, right? He was listening to the audiobook, which is quite interesting. He's 86 years old. And I was at home in Yorkshire just before Christmas. And I could hear him listening to it downstairs, right? I thought, it's interesting. And I get to the story that I told you, like, my dad said we couldn't afford a third baby. Like, oh, listen to that. How's he going to react, right? He goes, I never said that. I never said that. I never said that. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I said, Dad, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter what you said. It's not what you said. It's what I did with whatever I heard at the time as
Yeah.
3 years old.
Yeah.
Really, you're off the hook. You said whatever you said. I did what I did. I said, how are you finding this book? He goes, well, I'm disturbed. Disturbed. Oh my God. Okay. But that's probably a good thing, right? Anyway, he calls me up about a week later. He says, I did it. I said, what? He said, your brother came round, my eldest brother, right? And they've never got on. He comes round once a week, but they kind of sit there and don't talk. I mean, it's like two Yorkshiremen, right? Sitting in a room who don't really want to be in the room. I'm not sure that's totally true, but it's kind of like this funny atmosphere, right? He says, I says, it took me some time. I said, you know, I want you to know, I love you. I went, wow. I said, and what did he say? He said, I should think you do and all. You can imagine. That's a miracle. That was never going to happen. But my dad read this book and got disturbed, right? And he realized that, you know, he's given I don't know what he realized exactly, but
Yeah.
they've never really got on. And I know my eldest brother thinks my dad doesn't really like him because he's decided that as a kid growing up.
Yeah.
And I know my dad was kind of harder on my eldest brother because, you know, he has to be tough and he's got to be the example. And he was, in my experience, harder on my elder brother than me. You know, I got it easy compared to my
Yeah.
eldest brother. So who knows what they've made up together. But then there you go. You read that book and start to fix things about your life that you didn't even know were going on, you know? So you know, the book's less than 5 hours. So listen to that, right? And even just listen to one chapter at a time. But how else could you do it? Well, ask yourself the question, you know, why do I really care about what it is that we're doing? Why do we even care about this? Oh, you might start where I start. Oh, well, they're making money. Yeah, okay,
Mm.
fine. But why this? Why are you in this particular business? What is it about this business that touches you as a human
Yeah.
being? And what if everybody bought your product or everybody bought your service? What could that make available that inspires you, that could be inspiring, that could be great? So you kind of like allow yourself to fall in love with your life, with what you do in a way, and then extrapolate, you know, okay, if they did this, if everybody bought our product, there could be this. It'd be great for us, but what would it be for them, you know?
Mm.
I think when um, I think that's why we had it so. If you like, I'm in sales, but it didn't really feel like sales. When I
Yeah.
was registering people into the program, it was about them taking their life on. It was about them transforming their life. It wasn't about their money. It was just to
Yeah.
get the money. Somehow get the money, find the money, do whatever you need to do to get yourself in this program, transform your life,
Mm.
right? And was able to stand so powerfully in that place, you know, which in the wrong context, slightly off, it's pressuring people or trying
Yeah.
to get people to buy your thing, right?
Yeah.
That was never the case for me. It was about them, registering. So sometimes it's about my numbers, how many people I registered. So I had to kind of catch that and
Yeah.
get myself back to, "No, who cares about my freaking numbers? It's this person I'm speaking to and their life. Let's get into that, you know? So I trued myself up by dealing with myself when it wasn't about that, you know? One of the things I used to say is the only time you're being really authentically you is when you're telling the truth about that you're not authentically being you, you know? And they're saying, okay, actually, you know, I'm just here to, you know, I'm not being authentic right now. Okay, good. You're being authentic, but you're not being authentic.
Mm.
As human
Yeah.
beings, we're kind of putting on some sort of show, pretense, making up for something without knowing it most of the time.
Mm. And
So
often
it's being
it's
able to
to,
crack through that, you know?
yeah. And often it's to keep up appearances, appease
Yes.
others, um, or we've created an impression that we just have to continue to maintain because other people have a certain perception about us. So we have to keep the storyline going. And eventually that
Yeah.
story becomes who we are.
Yeah. You end up being that person in life when it's not the true you.
No,
So
no.
cracking through that might disturb quite a lot of your listeners, right? When they think, oh, who am I? But okay, relax. Just like I say, get the book and it'll take you through it step by step. And yes, it's disturbing in one respect. You've spent your whole life thinking this and your whole life doing that. And, you know, for me, I've had a lot of cleaning up to do with people, you know?
Mm.
I went back to every ex-girlfriend I could find, all the way back to my girlfriend at university, finding them and cleaning stuff up with them. Before they'd even interview me to become a forum leader, I had to clean up my entire life. And they ask you these, and I thought I had integrity. I thought I was whole and complete. I thought, I've been leading programs for 8 years. What have I got? This is going to be
Yeah.
easy. Yeah, 64 pages of incompletions later, I got a
Wow.
lot of work to do. Find people, pay money back I'd stolen, pay money back I'd, overclaimed for at insurance companies. And I mean, you've got to be able to stand in front of anyone. You've got to be able to sort it out your own stuff. If you sort out your own stuff and completed it, you can stand in front of anyone. I can stand in front of a criminal. I can stand in front of, someone's been abused as a kid. I can stand in front of anyone because I've dealt with all my own stuff that I've ever seen. Maybe there's more stuff. Well, it seems to be there's always new stuff coming up, but because you've got the tools, you can see it as it's happening and intervene. And if you don't intervene, your results will tell you that you're off.
Yeah.
Certainly in sales, it's, if you're, I don't know, making 3 sales a day and that's your target, let's say, or 10 sales a day and that's your target. If you're doing that and then all of a sudden you stop doing that, then you go to, okay, what happened? What do you mean? What happened? You're doing fine and all of a sudden you're not. So that's where we look. We're not looking at all this stuff after. No, go back to your statistics. Your statistics don't lie. So what happened? Oh, I had a fight with my wife that morning. Oh, really? What did you decide? This is all screwed. Why am I doing this? Oh, okay. And then you kind of got over that and go to work and don't think anything about it, except your performance is now off. Oh, okay. Well, let's go back and get that all sorted out. Get all that sorted out and apologize maybe to your wife or deal with whatever you need to deal with that you didn't deal with. And all of a sudden, you're now being productive again.
Yeah. It's all science.
That's right.
It's
Well,
all science.
statistics don't lie.
No, they don't. They don't.
They
So,
tell you.
Will, hey, been a great conversation. For people who want to know more about you and certainly get a copy of your book, whether it be in the physical form, Kindle, or I'm assuming audio book, because you see your dad's listened to it. Where's the
Yes.
place for
Yes.
them to
Yes.
connect and get access to your material and your book?
Yeah. Well, the book is on Amazon. So you can go to Amazon. I know in Australia, it's one of the places where it's a #1 on Kindle. So,
Nice.
yeah. So you can get it's free to lead. Unleash your hidden leadership genius. Will
Love
Steele.
it.
So you can get that, or you can go to www.willsteele.com / free to lead. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's .php, Papa Hotel Papa, for some reason. I don't know, it's something to do with a web page. But if you just go willsteele.com, you can get me there. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Will Steele Coaching, like that. And
Perfect.
yeah, reach out if you're interested. Find out more about what I do. Yeah, I've really gotten clear for myself. The people I want to work with are people who are up to something. They're up to something. They've got a vision or some big goal that they want to accomplish. I don't really care what it is. I mean, I have a client who's saving the rainforests, not just rainforests, forestry all
Mm-hmm.
across Africa and South America and in the Philippines. That's great. That really inspires me. They're up to something. But it could be you're up to something, you want to build your business from where it is now to here. All right, great. Let's play that game and create a powerful context for it, So someone who's willing to be really up to something and coachable, they're willing to see, rather than have an argument about it, open up to and look at least, at what's going on that's having this not work. Let's really take it apart, and some of those calls with people take it apart and, they're crying their eyes out as they're realizing things that happened in their past. It's very deep sometimes, very deep. And sometimes it's just really practical. Like, okay, what are the actions you need to take? Okay, boom, 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 boom. Take those actions. Call me back when you take those actions. Call me back when you take those actions, So it's both practical and ontological. But what we're working on is real power and clarity. Yeah. So anyway,
That's where it becomes really powerful. So,
yeah,
so mate, I'll put all that on the show notes. So if there was one lasting piece of guidance, wisdom, advice, counsel you'd like to leave people with as we launch into 2026 that we haven't sort of covered off, what would that be?
it would be get last year complete. What worked? What were your successes? What were your failures? Get yourself to the source of your successes. Why was I successful? I was successful because blah, blah, blah. But not expecting being at the source, what I call it the source of it. Yeah, I really took myself on there, or I really, was diligent, or I was really disciplined and did, right? And then where you failed, what's the source of the failure? You could blame all the circumstances, or you could look to yourself and go, well, I decided this, and this. All right, great. Well, okay. Get yourself complete, right? From 2025, what I call complete. So it's now done. We don't have to go back there. We don't have to drag it into 2026. So now you get it complete. And now, what do I want this year to be about? I've got my wall planner over there. I've got 4 events planned, which is leading 4 programs in the Middle East, and then it's blank. So I am in the process myself of what do I want this year to be about? Is it just numbers? I'm going to make this much money, or I know I want to sell 1 million books. Just that's the number I've come up with. Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? But it's not about selling 1 million books. I don't even care about the money. I want people to read the book and get results like my dad already got. You can get a result like that, great, and make a difference with 1 million people. So for yourself, look at what. Yes, you want to produce all these results, but what impact in the world do you want to have? And create that as your vision for 2026. And then you got something powerful when it goes off, or you get disempowered, or things go wrong. You go, okay, well, what are we up to here? Oh, we're up to that. Okay, given we're up to that, what actions do we now need to take to start to fulfill that? Oh, we need to do this, this. All right, good, let's go.
Yeah.
So answer to your question, complete 2025 and create 2026 powerfully for yourself, like what you're up to.
Love it. Love it. Well, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being a great guest, and enjoy the early morning of Bologna. You said Bologna?
Bologna. Yes.
Bologna.
You've heard of Bolognese
Brilliant.
sauce. That's where it comes from.
Absolutely. Bologna sauce.
All right,
Love it.
man.
Hey, mate, been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much, and all the best to you in 2026.
And yourself too. Thanks for having me on the show.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
All right, Darren. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Exceptional Sales Leader podcast. I trust the information in this episode has been helpful in your journey towards becoming exceptional. And remember, please take the time to rate the show, subscribe to the show so other people can find it. But also, if I can help you, jump on my calendar, go to leadwithdarren.com, and let's have a conversation about how I can help you along your journey to being exceptional.